Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make the head of a giraffe and a little bit of his neck as well. Mostly we're going to be concentrating on his face, and I'm going to show you how I do that, how I sculpt a giraffe's face. And we're working in polymer clay. This is Sculpey 3 brand. I'm doing, right now I'm kneading it, which is also conditioning it, mixing the ingredients of the clay together so that it sculpts well and bakes well. Now I already started before I turn on the camera so we can get rolling here. Taking a bit of clay, what I've got here, start forming it into a ball like that. Then I'm gonna roll it between the palms of my hands, and that's gonna smooth the ball a little bit. Just get it nice and smooth. So it looks like that. Now I've always found out, that mostly if you do it this way, you'll end up with a basic shape for the head and then also the neck, and it just makes things easier later on when you go to add more of a neck or a body or anything like that. So all I'm doing is basically rolling halfway down the ball to create that neck shape and give me also the shape of a head a little bit. At least a kind of a round shape for the beginning of the head. And this way, when we go to add more of a neck to it, or if you're going to add a body or at some point later on, maybe not with this particular sculpture, but it would make it a lot easier to handle that if you had it shaped like that. So next I'm going to start shaping the head a little bit. Now of course I'm going to have to add clay for the nose. Got some more clay here. I've been conditioning this clay this morning already before the video came on, but I need to knead it a little bit. If you could just bear with me, because it's a little chilly in the house and it kind of gets cool if it's just sitting still. So I need to have a little bit of a nose on there. So I'm just gonna get the basic shape here, and I'm going to take a sculpting tool and score the place where the nose part that I'm going to add goes, and I'm going to score the part that's going on, so both parts to be joined, and then just with a twisting motion I'm going to join the two pieces and applying pressure, of course. And then I can just blend this with my thumb. I'm just blending this portion into the head. Now it's really a good idea if you could go online and if you don't have a book of pictures of giraffes, go online and look up giraffe. You could say giraffe images in a search. I use Google a lot. I like Google because it just is like a really big search engine. They have a lot of results, and it's very fast. So, and you could look up giraffes, and you could look up giraffe sculptures, which would be better, because if you're making a sculpture, it's easier to sculpt by looking at a sculpture of something, because then you can actually see more about how you make the thing that you're trying to make, which is in this case a giraffe. Now I'm going to take and make two balls. These are going to be for the eye casings. The giraffe's eyes sort of come out of the side of the head, and I'm going to show you how I do that in just a second. But first I need two balls. Now I'm rolling them in between my fingers, but you can also roll them like this. and that might be easier for you, but you want these balls to be the same size, so they look like that. And joining them the same way as we joined the nose to the head. Just gonna put a score it here, and come over to the other side the same distance from the tip of the nose, and from there, and just score that way. It's going to be in the same place, and you want them to be in the same place. And then score the eye casings. These will be the eye casings here shortly. See, like that. Scoring just helps the clay to join better. And then you just twist those, the two parts to be joined together like that. And so that's kind of how the eyes will go. And then you can take your finger or thumb, preferably your fingers though, and I'll tell you why. Your fingers, they're similar to the shape of like a hard tool like this, but they have a layer of skin and tissue underneath, on top of them. So when you use them to do this type of stuff, they don't leave a lot of marks in the clay. But because the hard tools don't have that tissue and layer of skin, they'll leave marks and carving marks in the clay. So ideally, you're going to use your fingers as much as you possibly can. And you notice I keep on kind of turning it and looking at it from all these directions, because you want the eyes to be in the same place, same size. Pardon the sirens, I live in Washington, D.C. Sometimes I try to turn off the camera or cut it out, but there's so much of it. I mean, there's so many sirens. It's really kind of hard to dodge them so that my viewers don't hear the sirens. Again, I do apologize for that. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a bone or so that kind of runs along here. So what you can do is so basically what we're doing here is just kind of building it right now and getting it to where we want it. And then we'll start, for lack of a better term, flushing it out. But first we want to just sort of start building it up. So I'm going to sort of press that down so it looks like that, and then just sort of start blending that in. And you can see all this, of course, when you look at pictures. Unless the giraffe that you see that you're looking at a picture of is really stylized, more than likely you're going to see all these features that I'm showing you here. Let's just blend that in. I don't want that to be like really prominent. I want it to be really sort of more suggestive of this sort of shape, this bony kind of shape at the top of the nose. So now I'm just sort of using my thumb and my fingers to kind of work it down in and make it sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, also more comfortable and like it should just sort of be hanging out there, kind of hiding out in the way, but you know, if you look closely you can see it. So like that. And next I'm going to add nostril holes, the nostril shapes to go on the nose. They kind of go back a little bit from the front of the nose here. They go back, so they're going to go right about there. So I need 2 balls about the same size. About the same size. And then again, scoring is good. If it's a real small piece of clay, you probably won't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and score these just to be on the safe side. And then we'll go right about here. And just twist them into place while applying pressure. This one here also. Now the thing is about these, you know, anything that you're putting on, you can move it. You know, you can, I mean, even though you've just put it on there, you can actually slide it back and forth and that sort of thing. See that? I can actually move it around. So if you're trying to line them up and get them, you know, positioned right and all that, it's not really that big of a deal. So you can move them if you need to, and then just blend them in. Again, I'm still using my fingers. Mostly, I haven't used any tools yet, and that's how it should be. Of course we're going to use tools, but we're not going to use them yet. And also, if you're new to this, really you want to be using your fingers as much as possible, because you're going to get used to using them. And when you're first starting out, you're not used to using them like this. You've never probably used them like this, some of you, ever before in your life. And of course, your hands are not going to work so well as you see mine working here. You're going to have to get used to using them, so just keep that in mind. The more you practice, of course, the better you'll get. And again, you can see me rolling it around, looking at it from many directions as I work. Okay, next we're going to add the upper lip. And I'm going to take a ball of clay here, like this. And I'm going to roll it into a noodle. I want it to be fairly uniform. And sometimes it's easier to make something uniform by rolling it on the table like this. I don't want this to be a real thin noodle. You can see that the noodle is actually fairly thick. And then I'm going to apply it to the mouth, or to where the mouth would be. Like that. And I just basically pinched it off. Now I'm going to squeeze it and push it, kind of flattening it to the front of the face like that. I'm just continuing to kind of push it in here to this upper jaw, and then I'll start blending it in. And this can kind of make it like it's a little bit hard to get my fingers in there. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use a tool to blend that in there. Just around the nostrils, really. Here, I guess. Now, the thing about this upper lip, if you look at a camel, they're really quite comical creatures, and their lips are very lively, and there's, you know, they move around a lot, and you can bring some of that character into the face that you're working on by maybe lifting up on a little bit of it so it almost looks like he's chewing on his cud or something like that. So you can kind of get some of that, you know, realistic, make it semi-realistic. This is in between realistic and cartoonish, but that kind of gives you an idea. You can move those lips around a little bit. So, and you can also take like a tool like this, and you can carve that in to define that lower jaw. Just carve that in like that. But by lifting, you know, just lifting that side lip like that just gave it a lot more life. Now I can take a tool like this, and it's just basically a ball tool, and I can open up the nostrils, put nostril holes in. You can, you know, rotate it like this to open it up like that. You can also use this type of tool for blending lines that you can't get with your fingers. Just gonna cut this back a little bit and just carve that a little bit more in there. Now we'll bring some life to his face by giving him some eyes. And so I'm just going to use a ball tool like this. You can use a ball tool like this. Other things you can use if you don't have that is you can use the back of a paintbrush. You can use a smaller ball tool. Whatever tool you use, you still can rotate it to widen the opening. This one's about the right size, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take my finger and put it behind the eye casing just to support it. And so I'll make a eye socket about that size there. And I've got this portion of my hand behind this eye casing. I just want to show you that I actually am supporting it there, just like I did on the other side. Now see, this tool is not quite big enough, so I am rotating it to open up that eye socket. Now I'm going to, so you can see what I got so far here. He looks a little bit like an alien, you know. So next I need 2 balls the same size for the eyeballs. Now just keep in mind that you can see both eye sockets are the same size. So you want to try to get that to be the same size, and then you're going to make one eyeball and put it in there and just see if it fits and if it's the right size, like that. Okay, then you take it out and then you make another ball the same size. This just basically ensures that you're not going to have a giraffe that has one nostril that's giant and, you know, one eyeball that's giant and the other one's small. I mean, if you do it this way, it'll be proportionate, and the different things that where there's 2 of the same thing will be about the same. So if you look at the nostrils, they're about the same. And a lot of people have told me over the years that that is a big issue for them. How do I do it? That's how you do it. That is how you do it. Then we put the eyeballs in. Like that. Now we're going to add pupils to the eyes. The pupils are that smaller circle that's in the or dot that's in the middle of the eye, that basically gives you sight. If you didn't have a pupil, you wouldn't have sight. If we left these eyeballs like this, basically he would mostly be a blind camel. I mean a blind giraffe. Sorry, he's not a camel. He's a giraffe. And also I often, when I talk about doing eyes, I recommend moving the pupils of the eyes to look at something to the left or right. And the reason why is because it's easier to make the eyes look realistic if you do that. So I'm going to have the eyes going over that way. So I'm going to take this tool here. I'm going to start making the hole. Like that. Kind of like that. So it's not extremely going over, but it's like slightly. And then I'll come back over to this side and I'll put a hole about the same size in over here. Trying to get them to look straight on can be difficult. You can try it, most definitely try it, practice it, and hopefully get good at it, but it can be a little bit more difficult than doing it this way. Now we have to make the eyelids for his eyes, and so let me just show you what we got here real close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a noodle of clay, and then I'll flatten it slightly, just slightly, so it's kind of like that. And I do want to position it so that it's covering that, oops, I'm sorry. So it's covering this portion up here, which would be the white of the eye. So you don't want the white of the eye showing at the top. Now if you've got the eyelid on there and that's showing, you can take your tool and just kind of bring it up so it's a little bit higher. Just sculpt it up a little bit higher. And then you can blend the back of the eyelid into the eye casing and wherever it joins the head or whatever. You can use a tool a little bit if it's helpful. Now see, it's that what would be the white of the eye is showing a little bit. The reason why I don't want it showing is because it makes them look kind of afraid or excited or that sort of thing. I don't really want that. So I'm just bringing it up to it. And then I'll put another one on the other side. And again, you know, starting with two balls the same size can be a good idea. I didn't in this case. But you can do that. I'm a little bit probably better practiced than you, so I just sort of didn't do it and just rolled two noodles. Or, you know, I'm rolling a second noodle now. So then I'll flatten it slightly. It looks a little bit like E.T. Okay, so then I just pinched it off on the end there, and then I'll blend it in. And I use a tool here to blend it in here where it's harder to get to. Now, one thing I always try to tell you about eyes when I show you eyes, let me just bring this pupil up there a little bit, is that this right in here where the eyelid joins the head, that little line in there, let me see if I can point it out better. That little line right there, if you leave it like that, he might look a little bit mad, almost like a little bit angry. But if you take your tool and just blend that in and make it a nice smooth transition, he's probably going to look more sedate, a little bit more calm. The position of the eyelids can really make or break, you know, the expression a lot. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at him and you say, "Wow, he really looks mad," that's why. Oftentimes, I mean, it could be something else, but you know, and you can also just look at your own eyes in the mirror too, because now the way I do eyes, you know, it's somewhat, you know. In a way it's stylized, so I have been doing this way for a long time, and most of the eyes I do are about the same on all the creatures I do, including humans. But the eyes really work, and people really like the eyes that I do, so I kind of got into this. You know, I do it this certain way. So that's what he looks like so far. So I want to go back to his lips a little bit and just, you know, just take a few minutes to just kind of carve the underside. I just want you to experience that a little bit. Just take your time. Don't take big gobs of it off at a time. Just take a little bit off. But when you do that and you loosen it up like that by carving it and kind of thin it out a little bit, it kind of gives you the opportunity to then move that lip a little bit more than you might have been able to before. He's really pretty neat. He's a pretty neat giraffe. I really do like especially giraffes. They're like one of my favorite things to sculpt. here's a giraffe. This is the first giraffe I ever made, right here. So just to tell, just to show you, and so now I want to put his. I'm not really sure what they're called. I think they're like, I mean, they look like antenna, but basically the two little things that stick out of the top of his head. So I wanna make those right now. So you're gonna want 2 balls the same size to start off with, and then what you want to do is you take your fingers on either side like this, and this is like the bony side, the actual side of your index finger, and just applying pressure, just start to roll it like that. And then, so it'll be shaped like that. So then you want, this should be about the same thickness all the way down. So you just bring your fingers down and you can roll it to get that to be the same thickness. Like that. And then you can form this to be the shape. It almost looks like, in a way, it kind of looks like a nail. That's what the top looks like. So this is the body of the nail, and this would be the head. And you can just shape that. So I'll take, so that's about right there. And then you take, so I'll take this other ball, show you again. Fingers on the side. Roll it. Roll the length so that it's about the same thickness. See if match it up to the other one, make sure it's about the same size, and then shape the head. So they look about like that, they look about the same. And then to secure them, it's best to use wire. This is 18 gauge galvanized steel wire. I recommend it. It's what I use most of the time for this sort of thing, or any time that I need to use wire to join 2 pieces of clay. When you cut it, you notice how I just cut it and I held it with my fingers like that? You don't want this on your floor. It's basically like a needle, and somebody could step on it, your pets or your children or yourself. So you don't want that. And then you can put it up inside like that. And then I'm going to just cut off what I don't need, holding on to both sides. If you don't hold on to both sides when you cut it, if you cut it like this and you didn't hold on to it, this piece would go flying and land on your floor somewhere. So that's why I say you want to be careful about that. And so just stick that up in there. Oop, came out the side a little bit there for a second, so let's don't want that. And then you do want to score this. You can score it like this. And these are going to go kind of on either side of this bone here. So I'm going to score them where they're going to go. Make sure that the wires are not going to come out, so they're not too long. And I'm just going to insert it down in there. just like this. That one kind of got off track there, so to speak. I'm going to take my little ball tool and I'm just going to cut it in and sort of blend it into the head there. Actually, maybe this tool would work better. Now, like the lips, these little things here can be expressive too for a giraffe. So, you know, sometimes what I'll do is I'll have one that's like maybe, whoops, so you can see, I'm sorry, like this here, and maybe this one a little bit different, you know, coming down a little further, leaning a little further, what have you. Boy, I love giraffes, man. It's so awesome. Okay, and now we're going to work on the ears, so he can pretty much stand up now on his neck like that, so I'm just going to set him like that. And again, I'm going to be rolling 2 balls the same size. So I got that one there. Okay, so I've got 2 balls the same size here. And then I'm going to roll kind of like a cone, like a long cone shape like that. I've got one. I'm going to roll a second one so they look the same. Like that. And then holding my thumb inwards from the top, this being the top of the ear, I'm going to press in, and that creates a ridge along the top of the ear. Like that. And so this ear, so this is actually the ear that goes over here, and this is the ear that goes over here. So I want to squeeze that the same way, but I want to, you know, keeping that in mind, that the points of the ears are going in different directions. This ear here, they're both the ears are a little bit long, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pull down like that and just pinch off that. If I slide my thumb along it, it'll smooth it out a little bit like that. This is just a little bit long, this one is, so slide my thumb along it. That should be about right. That one seems a little long. Let me see. Yeah, this one here is a little long, so I'm going to take a little bit more off that. And then, again, you know, wire is a good idea. Anytime you're using, like you have like these ears coming off here like that, you definitely want to consider putting wire on. This wire is, you know, I'm going to give you a tool and supply list of all the things that we're using, and including the wire, and you know, this is easy to find. You can get this at like any hardware store, like that. And then just put it up inside the ear, trying to make sure it doesn't come out the end like that, or, you know, out the sides. like that. And then you can take your sculpting tool and mark it, go ahead and score it, both ears. And then come over to where the ear is going to go, which is behind, basically behind the eye casing. Score that, both sides. Now it's best to kind of look at the front of the head while you're doing this, sort of the side and the front. So you put it into place and twist and press while you're doing that, so you got it seated well. But if you look at it from the front, you can see they're level. And then you can just, you know, shape them. And again, the ears, again, can add expression to, you know, to the piece. And then come around and blend them in. And you can use a sculpting tool to get in there where you can't get with your fingers. And just blend that in good, cut it in. And he's coming along really well here, so he's about where we want him. I'm going to take my fingers here and just kind of pinch the lip a little bit, and that will just thin it out a little. And I'm going to just form it a little bit more, kind of getting it more like he's really chewing his cud, which was a term that was used by my friend Jamal, actually. He actually bought one of my giraffes, and this one, actually, I have a picture of it here. Isn't it cute? I almost wish I didn't sell it, but Jamal was so exuberant and he really wanted to own them, so I was like, okay. But that little guy, actually girl, I named her Lucy after my dog. But anyways, she was really cute. Is cute, but is now at Jamal's house. Anyways, this one's a little bit different, not the same as that one. You know, it's hard sometimes to make something the same as in, you know, art is not really necessarily supposed to be like that. You're supposed to, you know, kind of evolve and create and change and that sort of thing. So everything's a little bit different every time you do it. But still, I really like how that lip kind of goes up like that, almost like Lucy's lip. And, you know, if you move things around, you know, there are wires in there, but that doesn't mean you can't move them. Just watch out to make sure that the wires aren't, you know, coming through. Like that one, there's a wire right there about to come through there. But you can, you know, before you bake it, you can cover it up. Also in the video description down below the video, you're going to find the baking instructions, and also 2 videos of mine that show you how to smooth polymer clay. You can look at those. I you know, like to leave my sculpting marks in, my fingerprints in, everything in like that, because I just like it. It's kind of my style. It's just how I do things. And you can make the neck a little bit longer. Let me show you how you could do that if you wanted to. So just you know, take a bit of clay for however, you know, big you need it for that. You definitely want to knead it, and you know, make sure, because you always want to, as you go and you're using fresh clay that you might have conditioned before, but you really want that clay to be nice and soft and pliable. And then what I do is I roll it into a ball. So I'm going to add a piece down below to his neck. So I make it kind of cone shaped like that. Next I score it like that. Score the bottom of his neck here. Twist the two parts to be joined. And then you can take your, you know, fingers and blend the parts together. So it's a nice even, you know, smooth transition. It might be a little bit wobbly. You can always put a piece of wire in there if you need to as well. And then once you've got the neck the way you want it, you can also get more expression from him by tilting his head. Like I'm going to push this over that way a little bit, his neck over like that, and then I'm going to turn his head so it's like that. And he's a very cool giraffe. And then in a minute we're going to put a finish on it. But first I want to bring him up close and let you see him. So there you go. So we'll come back in a minute. We're going to put a nice finish on him. Okay, we're back and we're going to use Pearlite's Pigments. This color is Antique Bronze. I use it a lot. If you watch my videos in the past, you probably already know how to do this because I do it a lot. And so the best way to apply the bronze, I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit, is to apply it with a finger and then just go back with a brush. And I'm going to show you that too, because I have kind of a new way of doing that to make it look better. But you just, so I put the bronze in a lid, just make it easier to get to, and I'll just dip my finger in it like that, and then I'll swirl it with my finger, and that sort of subdues it a little bit. And then I just apply it, and all I'm doing really is I'm just trying, for me, I mean you can do whatever you like, but for me I'm just trying to highlight whatever my finger, you know, gets when I pass it over lightly. And the way, if you do it this way, it really does look like bronze. If you go and look at bronze somewhere, a bronze sculpture or something like that, you will probably agree that it's very realistic. But it does have to be done this way. If you put it on too heavy, it won't look that, it won't have that same appeal. It takes a little practice. It most definitely is an art form. It takes a little getting used to, like anything else. But if you notice, if I bring that close, I don't know if you can see that very well, but you can see all the sculpting marks in there like that, and for me it just with the bronze done this way, it just really looks good to me. I mean, it may not to you, but to me it does. And so I really like how that looks. So I'll just, and once I got the antique bronze on my finger, on my thumbs, I can use them too, or my thumb, I should say. I can use it to do the finish as well. Now I know that he doesn't have the spot. Oops, that he doesn't have the spots. Whoops, I put on too heavy there. If it gets too heavy like that, you can take a tool and just sort of go over it and just sort of scrape it off a little bit there. Of course, if you had a lot of detail, you wouldn't want to do that because it might mess it up. Now I want to show you, I don't really need it for myself, but I want to take a minute to show you so I've got, this is actually kind of a ratty brush here, but I want to show you because I use this brush a lot for all kinds of things, and even though it's ratty, I kind of like it, so it works for me. If it's wet, which it is, it's much better to put the bronze on with a wet brush, water wet brush, because it just goes on and it looks a lot better, okay, than if you put it on dry. So I'm just going to use the back here and I'm going to get a little bit on the brush like that, and then I'm also going to dab that off like that. And there's a couple of spots in here that I want to try to get just to show you for an example. It just works. I'm just touching it sort of, kind of, you know, just barely touching it, just so that I kind of get the same look that I got with my finger. I don't want to just paint it on there and get it all bright. So I'll just do that a little bit. There's a place around the eyes, and that's about it. But yeah, definitely a wet brush. Now, of course, that will dry, and then when you bake it, it will be semi-embedded into the surface of the sculpture. So that is how you make a giraffe. Now, as far as baking goes, again, the baking instructions for the clay will be in the video description down below the video, and the where this tool and supply list will be below there. You can also, of course, smooth the sculpture. If you're going to smooth it, you know, if you don't like all the sculpting marks and all that and you want to smooth it, you can use those videos. Do that before you put the finish on, and put the finish on if you're going to do this type of finish before you bake it. And this, again, we're using Sculpey 3 in this video. Again, you can use whatever brand you like, but don't follow the instructions for Sculpey 3 for baking Sculpey 3 if you're using something else. Obviously, you want to do the correct bake time and temperature for whatever you're using. And that's basically it. And that's our giraffe. It was a fun project, and he actually turned out pretty good. He's pretty cool. So, a couple things. If you could do me a favor, hit the like button so that I know that you like the video. Please share the video and share it with your friends. Let them see this, this cool video. And leave me a comment or question in the comment section. And also tell me what kind of animals you would like to see me do a video on, and I will try to accommodate you. And also subscribe to my channel. I have many videos along these lines, and so please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.